Letters to Dead Authors. To Herodotus. To Herodotus of Halicarnassus, greeting. Concerning the matters set forth in your histories and the tales you tell about both Greeks and barbarians, whether they be true or whether they be false, men dispute not little, but a great deal. Wherefore I, being concerned to know the verity, did set forth to make search in every manner, and came in my quest even unto the ends of the earth. From there is an island of the Cimmerians, beyond the straits of Heracles, some 3 days' voyage to a ship that hath a fair following wind in her sails, and there it is said that men know many things from of old. Thither, then, I came in my inquiry. Now the island is not small, but large, greater than the whole of Hellas, and they call it Britain. In that island the east wind blows for 10 parts of the year, and the people know not how to cover themselves from the cold. But for the other 2 months of the year the sun shines fiercely, so that some of them die thereof, and others die of the frozen mixed drinks, for they have ice even in the summer. And this ice they put to their liquor. Through the whole of the island, from the west even to the east, there flows a river called Thames, a great river and a laborious, but not to be likened to the river of Egypt. The mouth of this river, where I stepped out from my ship, is exceedingly foul, and of an evil savour by reason of the city on the banks. Now this city is several hundred parasangs in circumference. Yet a man that needed not to breathe the air might go round it in 1 hour, in chariots that run under the earth, and these chariots are drawn by creatures that breathe smoke and sulphur, such as Orpheus mentions in his Argonautica, if it be by Orpheus. The people of the town, when I inquired of them concerning Herodotus of Halicarnassus, looked on me with amazement, and went straightway about their business, namely to seek out whatsoever new thing is coming to pass all over the whole inhabited world, and as for things old, they take no keep of them. Nevertheless, by diligence, I learned that he who in this land knew most concerning Herodotus was a priest, and dwelt in the priest's city on the river, which is called the city of the ford of the ox. But whether Io, when she wore a cow shape, had passed by that way in her wanderings, and thence comes the name of the city, I could not, though I asked all men I met, learn aught with certainty. But to me, considering this, it seemed that Io must have come thither, and now farewell to Io. The city of the priests, there are 2 roads, one by land and one by water, following the river. To a well-girdled man, the land journey is but 1 day's travel. By the river it is longer, but more pleasant. Now that river flows, as I said, from the west to the east, and there is in it a fish called chub, which they catch, but they do not eat it, for a certain sacred reason. Also there is a fish called trout, and this is the manner of his catching. They build for this purpose great dams of wood, which they call weirs. Having built their weir, they sit upon it with rods in their hands, and a line on the rod, and at the end of the line a little fish. There, then, they sit and spin in the sun, as one of their poets say, not for a short time, but for many days, having rods in their hands, and eating and drinking. In this wise they angle for the fish called trout, but whether they ever catch him or not having seen it, I cannot say, for it is not pleasant to me to speak things concerning which I know not the truth. Now after sailing and rowing against the stream for certain days, I came to the city of the ford of the ox. Here the river changes his name, and is called Isis, after the name of the goddess of the Egyptians. But whether the Britons brought the name from Egypt, or whether the Egyptians took it from the Britons, not knowing, I prefer not to say. But to me it seems that the Britons are a colony of the Egyptians, or the Egyptians a colony of the Britons. Moreover, when I was in Egypt, I saw certain soldiers in white helmets, who were certainly British. But what they did there is Egypt neither belongs to Britain, nor Britain to Egyptians, a colony of the Britons. But what they did there, as Egypt neither belongs to Britain, nor Britain to Egypt, I know not, neither could they tell me. But one of them replied to me in that line of Homer, if the Odyssey be Homer's, "We have come to a sorry Cyprus and a sad Egypt." Others told me that they once marched against the Ethiopians, and having defeated them several times, then came back, leaving their property to the Ethiopians. But as to the truth of this, I leave it to every man to form his own opinion. Having come into the city of the priests, I went forth into the street and found a priest of the baser sort, who for a piece of silver led me hither and thither among the temples, discoursing of many things. Now it seemed to me a strange thing that the city was empty, and no man dwelling therein, save a few priests only, and their wives, and their children, who are drawn to and fro in little carriages dragged by women. But the priest told me that during half the year the city was desolate, for that there came somewhat called the lawn, or the vac, and drave out the young priests. And he said that these did no other thing but row boats, and throw balls from one to the other. And this they were made to do, he said, that the young priests might learn to be humble, for they are the proudest of men. But whether he spoke truth or not, I know not, only I set down what he told me. But to anyone considering it, this appears rather to jump with his story, namely, that the young priests have houses on the river, painted of divers colours, all of them empty. Then the priest, at my desire, brought me to one of the temples, that I might seek out all things concerning Herodotus, the Halicarnasian, from one who knew. Now this temple is not the fairest in the city, but less fair and goodly than the old temples, yet goodlier and more fair than the new temples. And over the roof there is the image of an eagle made of stone, no small marvel, but a great one, how men came to fashion him, and that temple is called the House of Queens. Here they sacrifice a boar once every year, and concerning this they tell a certain sacred story, which I know, but will not utter. Then I was brought to the priest who had a name for knowing most about Egypt, and the Egyptians, and the Assyrians, and the Cappadocians, and all the kingdoms of the great king. He came out to me, being attired in a black robe, and wearing on his head a square cap. But why the priests have square caps I know, and he who has been initiated into the mysteries, which they called matric, knows, but I prefer not to tell. Concerning the square cap, then, let this be sufficient. Now the priest received me courteously, and when I asked him concerning Herodotus, whether he were a true man or not, he smiled and answered, Abu Gush, which in the tongue of the Arabians means the father of liars. Then he went on to speak concerning Herodotus, and he said in his discourse that Herodotus not only told a thing which was not, but that he did so wilfully, as one knowing the truth but concealing it. For example, quoth he, Solon never went to see Croesus, as Herodotus avers, nor did those about Xerxes ever dream of dreams, but Herodotus, out of his abundant wickedness, invented these things.